bristolsctn.org. You can go there, and there's a little training button at the top, and you can see all of the trainings that we have to offer.
And you just click on that and sign up, and are there costs involved with all of this?
No, it's all free, and if you have a bigger group that wants to come, I'll actually travel to you.
Oh, okay, great. And you'll go anywhere in the Tri-Cities, or do you just stay more in the Sullivan County area?
In Sullivan County.
Awesome. Thank you very much for being on today. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Bristol seniors, what do you think about where you live, how you live, how you want to live? We want to hear from you. A new online and written survey is available geared towards Bristol citizens age 50 and over, their families, and their caretakers. This survey covers topics such as housing, parks and recreation, transportation, wellness, community and social participation, and job opportunities for seniors. The survey is available online at the City of Bristol, Tennessee's website at www.bristoltn.org. You can also pick up a printed copy at the customer service desk in City Hall, the front desk of the Slater Center, the Bristol Public Library, or the customer service counter in the Development Services Annex building. The city will use these responses and feedback to identify crucial issues facing seniors. A senior needs report will be compiled and published that will include strategies and ideas that will continue to make Bristol a great place to live for people of all ages.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Jules, spotting on this last one. There it is.
Go on with it. Leo. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
If you have questions, we have answers. Want to learn about the city's upcoming budget for the fiscal year? Or share your thoughts and ideas with city leaders? Then you want to attend the Bristol Exchange meeting. 2 different meetings will be held. The first will take place on Tuesday, May 9th at the Slater Center, located at 325 McDowell Street in Bristol, Tennessee. The second meeting will take place on Tuesday, May 30th at the Frank Winston Auditorium at Tennessee High School, located at 112 Edgemont Avenue. Don't miss this opportunity to ask questions and make your voice heard. For more information, you can call the City of Bristol, Tennessee's Department of Community Relations at 423-989-5500, extension 2052, or visit the city's website at www.bristoltn.org.
Welcome to the Steel Creek Explorer. I'm your host, Jeremy Stout. Have you ever wanted to keep a turtle as a pet? Don't keep turtles as pets. And if you have to, please do it responsibly. Well, that may sound like an awfully hypocritical thing for me to say as I stand here in front of 1,000 gallons of turtle tanks behind me. But yes, turtles and tortoises, as a general rule, do not make good pets. And we'll talk about why here in just a few moments. But first, some things to remember about the Nature Center at Steel Creek Park here is that, yes, we do have a number of live animals. All of our animals are acquired and they are permitted by state and sometimes federal agencies. Many of our animals began their life as wild animals. There's a reason why they have to be with us here at the Nature Center and can't go back into the environments where they belong. We also at the Nature Center have staff whose primary job, their reason for coming to work day in and day out, is to take care of our aquatic and our terrestrial environments. So even a small turtle, that's the number one thing we're going to talk about is People will often buy turtles on an impulse, and they buy them when they're babies. Everything starts off life small. It starts off, many of our turtles, the size of a quarter or even smaller. A lot of times they used to be widely available in those what I call the junk stores at the beach. Would oftentimes sell little baby turtles and things. So you go on vacation, you find these adorable little turtles, you bring them home. Maybe you don't realize that that turtle is going to grow to be the size of a dinner plate someday. It may have a 40-year lifespan, and it's going to need a large and expensive enclosure. It's going to need filtration systems. It's going to need adequate space. All of these things mean that turtles, for most homeowners, for most pet keepers, there are plenty of reptiles out there that make great pets. Turtles and tortoises are not those reptiles for most hobbyists. So let's think about this a little bit more. First, I mentioned turtles are long-lived. Okay, at first glance, that sounds like a good thing, right? Oh my goodness, wouldn't it be great if we had a pet that lived so much longer than our cats and dogs that are our typical pets? Yeah, that is a good thing. Being long-lived means that the pet can potentially provide lots of enjoyment and a fulfilling pet experience for you for most of your life. But that's the other part about it, is when people get a pet turtle, they're not counting on the long haul requirements for that animal. So if you plan to keep the turtle your entire life, go ahead and plan on who's going to take that turtle after maybe you're gone. Because a turtle with a 40-year lifespan might live longer than you. So that's the first thing to consider. The other thing to consider
All right. I'm calling to order the Bristol, Tennessee City Council meeting on this May 7th, 2019. Tara, would you take the roll, please?
Denise?
Yes, here.
Fire Robin?
Here.
Keene?
Here.
Powers? Here. Young?
Here.
I'd like to welcome everybody. Your interest in city government and your attendance tonight is greatly appreciated. There are a number of opportunities for people to speak on matters of city business this evening. A sheet explaining those opportunities was made available to you as you entered the room. And as we go forward with tonight's agenda, I will note each time when public comment is welcome. Also, tonight for just special welcome, we have quite a few folks from our Sullivan County Commission here, so we want to especially welcome them. But Councilwoman Powers took my list, so I'll make sure I've got it. We've got David Akert, we've got Andrew Cross, these are our commissioners, and Commissioner Mark Vance and Mark Hutton, and Herschel Glover. Is also here, and we have the esteemed Mayor Richard Venable with us as well, and I think they're interested in an item a little bit further on our agenda tonight, so we welcome y'all here. And just to give you a heads up, we think, depending on the outcome of that vote, we would like to have a photo with y'all over here afterwards, if that meets with your agreement. All right, so tonight for our invocation, I want to welcome Roger Leonard to do that for us. And Roger works with the Summit Companies. He's an active member at State Street United Methodist Church and a good friend for a long time. So Roger, we would thank you for being here for our invocation.
Well, thanks everyone. It's a real pleasure and honor to be here. And I think Margaret invited me to give the invocation because she knew, like many of us, we're Methodists and it would be short. So because of that, I'm going to make a few opening remarks. You know, when I got out of college in the early 80s, the first thing I did was I came to a city council meeting. And it was a bunch of 60-something men up there. And there was a presentation by the University of Georgia about they'd done a municipal study. And one of the councilmen said, I don't care what we do, just as long as we get them buses with them big windows. So the moral of that story was shortly after that, Bristol hit kind of a rough patch because of a number of companies. The economic landscape in the world was changing, and a number of companies exited Bristol. And kind of left Bristol high and dry. And Bristol went through a rough patch. The gentlemen who we all deeply respected were not equipped or prepared to deal with the disruptive changes that they later faced. And Bristol suffered for it. So one of the things I've been most grateful for, and one of the reasons why I appreciate the opportunity to come here, is to say, and to offer my thanks, not only to God, but on behalf of everyone, for this city council. I think you all are much better equipped than the city council was of that day to face disruptive change. And if we know anything, if we've learned anything over the last 30 years, is that disruptive change is going to be more the norm than the exception, and that it takes a lot of thought, a lot of discernment, and a lot of work to prepare ourselves, not just to be strong today, but be strong for the adversity that we will inevitably face tomorrow. So I just feel like after this period of time being in Bristol, I'm more optimistic about Bristol than I've been in any time in my life. And it's because of you, your counterparts in Virginia, you're willing to tackle tough issues. There may be difficult conversations at times, but those are generally healthy. So I just want to say thank you to our city council, and let's give them a applause, okay? Yeah, they deserve it. It's a tough job. It's a tough job. So please join me in prayer. Dear God of Abraham, of Isaac, of Ishmael, and of Jacob. And we pause for a moment at this beautiful time of year where new life has sprung all around us. We give thanks for your glorious creation that we in this area are so especially blessed to enjoy. We thank you for the gift of our wonderful and well-maintained parks, of our rivers, our streams, our lakes, and so many other things that we are just so thankful to live in the midst of. But we're also thankful for the people here today that we're recognizing who have been called to serve our community in so many different ways. We thank you for these city council members who have dedicated so much time and energy towards serving our community, and for our gifted city manager who has held so many jobs and been with the city for so long and provides a steady hand on the till. We thank you for our chief of police and for all the other department managers who are serving us in so many ways that us regular citizens don't even notice. And for all the many employees of the city who take care of our many needs, we give you thanks for each of them. And for all the volunteers, for the United Way agencies and for the Chamber of Commerce, for PTAs, and for so many other wonderful community organizations that we're so blessed to have that knit us together in serving the common good and serving each other. So, thank you for all these opportunities that we have to live in this area, and enjoy this really remarkable, amazing, becoming more vibrant everyday community. So please guide our leaders and our future leaders so that they may have wisdom and discernment to see around the corners of what's coming at us and prepare us not just for today but for tomorrow as well. So for all these many gifts and all these many blessings, we give you, in the name of your Son, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, thanks. Amen.
Vice Mayor Denise, the pledge.
Join us in facing the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I also failed to recognize Gary Mays, our director of our health department, is also here. So somewhere I lost him, but he's sitting in the prestigious back. So anyway, so we have 5 proclamations and 1 recognition on tonight's agenda. And the way we do is we'll read the proclamation, and whoever's receiving it comes forward, receives it, has a photo taken, and then has a couple of minutes to add to share with us some information, a few words. So the first proclamation we have is designating the week of May 12th through 18th as National Police Week. And May 15th, 2019 as Peace Officers Memorial Day. And I'd like to ask Councilman Jack Young to read the proclamation, and Police Captain Walter Brown is here to receive it.
Whereas there are more than 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of Bristol, Tennessee Police Department. Whereas there were 61,995 assaults against law enforcement officers in 2017, resulting in approximately 17,902 injuries. Whereas since the first death recorded in 1786, more than 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. Whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. Whereas 371 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 158 officers killed in 2018 and 213 officers killed in previous years. Whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 31st Annual Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13, 2019. Whereas the Candlelight Vigil is part of the National Police Week, which takes place this year, May 12th to May 18th, 2019, and whereas May 15th, 2019 is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. Therefore, be it resolved, the Mayor of Bristol, Tennessee formally designates May 12 to 18, 2019 as Police Week and May 15, 2019 as Police Officers Memorial Day in the city of Bristol, Tennessee, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation this 7th day of May 2019.
Is it appropriate to ask our officers and police who are here to come and have a photo taken too? First with Officer Brown and then with Debbie, if that's appropriate, and Blaine.
Chief,
come on down. And Clint over there. I think that would be nice. Captain Brown. Captain Brown, you're going to talk to us for a second. Great.
On behalf of the department, I want to extend our appreciation to the City Council members for recognizing Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week. I wish I could say that our department hasn't contributed to the stats that you read, but unfortunately we have. And this year we've had 39 officers die. And this community's felt that through Sergeant Hinkle, who ended his watch on February 2016 of this year. Wasn't a city employee, but the community still felt that. And we know with your support and that of our citizens, we can bring justice to criminals and keep everybody safe in the process. We thank you.
Our thanks and a proclamation are only small parts of what we can do to show our appreciation. So you're appreciated every day, every moment by all of us. Next, we have a proclamation designating the week of May 6th through 11 as Economic Development Week, and Councilwoman Lee Powers is going to read that proclamation, and Tom Anderson, the city's Economic Development Director, is here, and Mr. John Luttrell, Business Development Specialist. Both of them are here to accept the proclamation.
Great. I'm sure they'll speak to the fact that our Small Business Festival will kick off on Thursday, May 9th at Bristol Motor Speedway, and just a lot of exciting things to talk about, and I won't steal your thunder. A proclamation recognizing Economic Development Week. Whereas economic developers promote economic well-being and quality of life for their communities by creating, retaining, and expanding jobs that facilitate growth, enhance wealth, and provide a stable tax base. And whereas economic developers stimulate and incubate entrepreneurism in order to help establish the next generation of great businesses, which is the hallmark of the American economy. And whereas economic developers are engaged in a wide variety of settings, including urban, local, state, and federal governments, public-private partnerships, and a variety of other institutions. And whereas economic developers assist our existing industries and businesses, which are the cornerstone of our local economy, to continue to thrive and grow. And whereas the Industrial Development Board, who works alongside and in support of the city's economic development team, providing diverse experience, expertise, and leadership. And whereas economic developers attract and retain high-quality jobs, develop vibrant communities, and improve the quality of life in their corner of the world. And whereas the economic development team is valued and has the admiration and appreciation for the work they do for the city of Bristol, Tennessee. And therefore be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Bristol, Tennessee, Margaret Firerobin, does hereby proclaim May 6th through the 11th, 2019 as Economic Development Week and reminds individuals of the importance of this community celebration, which supports expanding career opportunities and improving the quality of life. This 7th day of May, 2019. Thank you.
While they're doing that, we're proud of our economic development team. John and Tom here. Part of that team also is April Eads, and also our community relations department with Terry Talbert. And the work that they do together, and the amount of work, the quality of work, we're really proud of, and feel like we've made great strides with our economic development.
So thank you once again, whether it is through activities where we support our existing businesses and industries, like our hiring expo that we had just a couple of weeks ago, where we saw almost 750 job seekers enter through the doors to speak with the 50 employers in attendance, hopefully as many as 250 of which were able to gain employment as a result of that event. Or whether it's supporting our small and emerging entrepreneurial operations through activities like the Small Business Festival or any other project that we engage in, both large or larger. Sometimes we don't take the time to stop and pause and celebrate our own successes enough, so we want to thank you all very much for acknowledging the work that we do.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a proclamation designating the week of May 19 through 25 as National Emergency Medical Services Week. And Vice Mayor Michelle Denise will read that proclamation. And we have Interim Battalion Chief Daryl Mears, who is here with us this evening to accept the proclamation.
Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor of Bristol, Tennessee proclaim May 19th through 25th, 2019 as Emergency Medical Services Week. With the theme EMS Strong Beyond the Call, I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities this 7th day of May 2019.
recently we've had quite a few proclamations on our agenda, and it is important for recognition and for celebration. It also is an opportunity for education on some of the different issues and things that we recognize. So,
thank you ever so much. On behalf of the men and women of Bristol, Tennessee Fire Department, thank you, City Council, for giving us the opportunity to do this service, to provide this service for the visitors of Bristol, Tennessee, and to the citizens of Bristol, Tennessee. We take great pride in being a world-class service. Our personnel take a lot of time perfecting their ability to provide life-saving skills for the citizens and the people that come here to Bristol, Tennessee. We enjoy what we do, and we thoroughly appreciate the proclamation and recognizing this week for us, Beyond the Call, EMS Strong, May 19th to the 25th. Thank you ever so much.
we have a proclamation designating the week of May 19th through May 19th through 25 as same week, National Public Works Week. I have that proclamation, and we have Mr. Wes Ritchie, Public Services Manager, who's here to accept the proclamation. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to the sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Bristol, Tennessee. Whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees from state and local governments and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Bristol, Tennessee to gain knowledge of and to maintain progressive interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the American Public Works Association has celebrated this annual National Public Works Week since 1960. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor of Bristol, Tennessee, proclaim May 19 through 25 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protect our national health, safety, and quality of life. This 7th day of May, 2019.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this proclamation. I'll accept this on behalf of all 97 employees in the division, and we'll display it prominently. Thank you.
Great. We have a proclamation for the week of May 5th through 11th. That's this week as National Travel and Tourism Week. Councilman Chad Keene, who serves on our Convention and Visitors Bureau for Discover Bristol, is going to read the proclamation, and Ms. Courtney Kakacian, Executive Director of Discover Bristol, is here to accept the proclamation.
Whereas travel has a positive effect on Tennessee and the nation's economic prosperity and image abroad. And whereas travel impacts business productivity and individual travelers' well-being. And whereas travel to and within the United States provides significant economic benefits for the nation, generating more than $2.5 trillion in economic output in 2018, with nearly $1 trillion spent directly by travelers. And whereas travel is among the largest private sector employers in the U.S., supporting 15.7 million jobs in 2018, including 8.9 million directly to the travel industry and 6.8 million in other industries. And whereas traveler spending directly generated tax revenues of $171 billion for the federal, state, and local governments, funds used to support essential services and programs. Whereas the travel and tourism industry contributed $367.7 million to the Sullivan County economy, generating $21.4 million in state tax revenues and $10.6 million in local tax revenues, and 3,510 jobs in Sullivan County in 2017. And whereas international travel in the U.S. is the nation's #1 services export and #2 overall, and meetings, events, incentives, travel are core business functions that help companies strengthen business performance, educate employees and customers, and reward business accomplishments, which in turn boosts the U.S. economy. In 2018, domestic and international business travelers spent $327.5 billion. And whereas leisure travel, which accounts for more than 3/4 of all trips taken in the United States, spurs countless benefits in travelers' health and wellness, creativity, cultural awareness, education, happiness, productivity, and relationships. And whereas travel is a pillar of economic growth, creating jobs at a faster rate than any other sectors. And whereas welcoming visitors from near and afar always has been and always will be the enduring ethos of the travel industry and Bristol. And whereas travel matters to Bristol. Therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor of the City of Bristol, Tennessee, does hereby proclaim May 5th through the 11th, 2019, as National Travel and Tourism Week in Bristol, and urge the citizens of Bristol to join her and discover Bristol in the special observance and appropriate events and commemorations this 7th day of May, 2019.
Thank you, City Council and Mayor, for recognizing National Travel and Tourism Week. It was established by President Reagan in 1983, and we will be celebrating our 2nd annual Pineapple Awards tomorrow morning at the Bristol train station at 7:30 a.m. And that ceremony is something that I brought to Bristol last year that recognizes our frontline staff throughout Bristol for excellent customer service. And those are the people who interact with the visitor the most and are often overlooked when it comes to recognition. So thank you for recognizing our industry, and thank you for your support of recognizing our staff tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a recognition with our Bristol First program. The city has over 340 full and part-time employees that serve our community on a daily basis. And we frequently hear of employees that go above and beyond that service. This program was created to recognize those efforts. And Ms. Terry Talbert, Director of Community Relations, is here to give us a brief overview of the program and announce tonight's winner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Soros, City Council. Every day, city staff interacts with members of the community in a myriad of ways. Some of those people may be dealing with issues that we're not even aware of. Sometimes that kindness extended to them by one of our staff in the most simple form may have made a world of difference in their day. Just such an interaction took place recently. It so touched the gentleman that he took the time to sit down, write a letter, and mail the letter to the city. Mr. Ken Keith had recently lost his wife and was obviously mourning a place in his heart that was now empty. That, and in and of itself, is enough for anyone to deal with. However, as fate would have it, he was also having to deal with a sewer problem, and on top of all that, it was after our city service hours. Mr. Keith wrote in his letter that the gentleman who was on call that particular evening responded very quickly, handled himself in a very professional manner, and was so polite. The problem was corrected by someone who was experienced and proved to be helpful in a very hectic time in Mr. Keith's life. Mr. Blake McCracken was that gentleman. If you'll please step forward, Blake, to receive your Bristol First Award.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all our employees that go above and beyond every day. I failed to ask, are there any agenda additions?
No, ma'am. No.
I think I figured that already. Okay, we have no presentations tonight, no public hearings. Next is appearance of citizens, and this opportunity for citizens to speak on anything that is not on the agenda. And we have a sign-in sheet and don't have anybody that's signed in. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak with City Council this evening? Seeing none, we will move to our appointments. Community Development Advisory Committee is the only appointment that we have tonight. And the term of the office is for a period of 3 years, ending in April 30th, 2022. We have 4 candidates, and we can vote for, there are 4 openings and 4 candidates. And the candidates are Ella Kane, Marjorie Tester, Steve Willinger, and Daniel Witcher. And I'm looking straight at Steve Willinger, who is here tonight in several capacities. So would anybody like to speak on behalf of any of the candidates?
I'll just mention I've served with Marjorie Tester on several other boards, and she will be a great addition to that. Steve has served in our city in many different capacities. You'll be great, and the others I think will be a good addition as well.
I think Mr. Willinger just was appointed to fulfill a term that was pretty short, and this is for a reappointment. Everybody else has also served at least 1 term. The makeup of that board and the work that they do is impressive. Tim, you can take that back to your folks that we really appreciate what they do, and I think they enjoy working together and learning and representing our city.
Okay. Powers votes for Ella Kane, Marjorie Tester, Stephen Willinger, and Daniel Witcher. Robin votes for Ella Kane, Marjorie Tester, Stephen Willinger, and Daniel Witcher. Denise votes for Ella Kane, Marjorie Tester, Stephen Willinger, and Daniel Witcher. Young votes for Ella Kane, Marjorie Tester, Stephen Willinger, and Daniel Witcher. And Keene votes for Ella Kane, Marjorie Tester, Stephen Willinger, and Daniel Witcher.
Right, so they'll be continuing to serve on our Community Development Advisory. We appreciate that. Next on our agenda is Ordinance 19-1, renaming Pine Circle Drive to Andover Drive. Mr. Sora, would you, and I'm just wondering, go ahead and do this, and then I'm wondering if we can go out of order and move a resolution up in case people want
Mayor, we can do anything you want to do. You've got the gavel. But I'll be glad to do it.
Let's go ahead with this one, and
Okay.
then we'll move
Be glad to
to
Be glad
jump
to.
around on our agenda. Thank you.
Okay. Ordinance 19-1 is in response to a request from the City of Bristol, Virginia. They're currently going through their next generation E911 process. And as part of that process, there's a renaming of a handful of streets and readdressing of a handful of properties in Bristol, Virginia. But one of those roads extends into Bristol, Tennessee, for a very, very short distance. It's about 45 feet into Bristol, Tennessee. So they have requested a change of Pine Circle Drive to Andover Drive. This went before a planning commission on April 15th, and the planning commission gave a favorable recommendation to their request. If you approve it on first reading this evening, there'll be a public hearing and a second reading at our June 4th meeting. David Metzger, our transportation engineer, is with us this evening. He's going to detail this issue for you.
Good evening. As Mr. Soar indicated, this is a request that started with the City of Bristol, Virginia. Referring to the line map that's in your packets and that's up on the screen, this is on the far western part of Bristol, Virginia. If looking at the map on the screen and in your packets, there's actually two sections of roadway that intersect each other that carry the same name in Bristol, Virginia, Pine Circle Drive. And as part of that, what they're looking to do is to take the section that is shown on the map in black and leave it as Pine Circle Drive. The section that is in red, which is currently Pine Circle Drive, they want to rename that to Andover Drive because that's a road that it is collinear with, and that would involve changing some addresses on the Virginia side. As Mr. Sort indicated, this street does extend into Bristol, Tennessee for about 45 feet, which is less than the length of this room, just because of the way the state line lays and the way that the subdivisions were built. And so Virginia did come to the City of Bristol, Tennessee, and ask that we would consider changing the street name as well so that we wouldn't have a very short street with a different name and would help out with the 911 address. There are no adjacent addresses in Tennessee off of Pine Circle Drive. There's only one adjacent property, and it's off of Grove Park Drive, and it is not a developed property. It's just heavily wooded. So the city staff has no objection to that street name change. As he indicated, this has been considered by the Planning Commission, and they forwarded a favorable recommendation for this change. Should this come to pass, it is set up to be coordinated with Bristol, Virginia to go into effect on the 1st of August so that they would have sufficient time to deal with the change of address issues that would be encountered on the Virginia side.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Metzger or Mr. Soar? You're always so good at explaining, we don't even have questions. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 19-1, renaming Pine Circle to Andover.
Second.
Would any member of council like to discuss the issue? And would anybody in the audience like to address council on this issue? All right, I think if there's no further discussion, we're ready to vote.
Okay. Denise?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Okay, so if it's okay with council, I think we have several people here that are very interested in Resolution 1934, the authorizing the donation of real property to Sullivan County for public use. So if we, is that okay to skip?
Sure, sure.
So, okay. Mr. Soar, would you like to talk to us about this?
As you indicated, Resolution 1934 authorizes the donation of surplus real property located at 135 River Road, Bluff City, Tennessee, to Sullivan County, Tennessee. Property was acquired in January of 1996 at a sum of $34,650. It was acquired for the purpose of establishing a fire and emergency medical services station at this location. As I think Mayor Firerobin probably recalls, during this time, the city had annexed to the crossroads in Piney Flats at Allison Road. And it was necessary to acquire this property to extend emergency services into that area. Subsequent to that, probably early 2000, 2001, somewhere in that time frame, the city de-annexed that area, yielding a large portion of the Highway 11E corridor all the way back to the river. leaving this property at the extreme southern end and not really a property that we would use for this purposes. So recently, Sullivan County inquired about the acquisition of the property for the purpose of establishing a Sullivan County Emergency Medical Service station at that location. The creation of an EMS station at that location has benefits to both the city and Sullivan County in that greater area. And so from a staff standpoint, we would recommend relinquishing the property for that purpose. As you can see, the map that's detailed illustrates the location. I think that's a Shell station that's immediately to the west of this vacant property on River Road.
Does any member of council have a question?
Just one question. I believe it's in the agreement and everything, but what are the conditions for the donation?
Okay, that it be used for a public purpose. If they find that at some point in time they don't want to yield to go forward with this type of a project, if they use it for a public purpose, that's okay. Or they could either return it to us, or if they went with another nonprofit, then we would have to be reimbursed the value for that. So we're in essence providing it to them for a public purpose in this.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 1934, a resolution authorizing the donation of the real property to Sullivan County for public use.
I'll second.
All right. Discussion or comments?
I'd like to say that our county commission and our integration with the county is so important to the success, not just of Bristol, but of our community at large. And the county has been willing to work with us repeatedly in our history, and they continue to work with us, and it seems only fitting that we will be in partnership in this EMS facility. Really excited that we're going to be able to do this, and look forward to working even more with our county and its commissioners and Mayor Venable. Thank you.
Anybody else? I'll just say that this is so appropriate for it being the night that we have a proclamation for a National Emergency Medical Services Week. So even if this isn't that exact week, it's pretty cool that we're doing it at this time. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to address this issue? Seeing none, I think we're ready to vote.
Denise?
Yes.
Fire Robin?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
And we've asked our county commissioner and Mayor Venable if they would come up, and we'd like to take a photograph, and I want to appreciate you all for being here with us. And John Crawford is here too. Where is John Crawford? Okay, would you like to come up with us too?
I'll be glad to. I am here. I am here. Did you shortly observe it? I need to take a knee.
I guess it's not on me anymore.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, ladies. Here we go. 3, 2,
Please, Mayor Venable.
Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Madam Mayor, Mayor, council members, I can't tell you how pleased I am for your generous gift to the people of Sullivan County. We value our partnership with you greatly. For decades now, we've made progress together, and I know it'll last for decades more. As with every project, it must have a leader. And I've asked Commissioner Vance to stay here with me because Commissioner Vance, working with the City Manager Sora, made Bill aware of our needs in this area, to serve this area. And so Commissioner Vance kind of led the charge on this, and I know he would want to thank you personally. So again, please accept my sincere appreciation for not just tonight, but for sticking with us through some difficult times. And we always appreciate your attendance at our meetings. And it's wonderful to be here. If I may, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Vance.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank to each one of you all. As you all know, I've spent 33 years at EMS as a paramedic, and this means a lot to me to serve as a county commissioner because I represent you all and the taxpayers of Bristol. It's important that I work to meet your all's needs. And when I came up with that idea about buying the land from the city, I went to Bill, and he was very nicely to figure out exactly how much that the city had into it. And jokingly, I said, you know, you could kind of donate this to the county, you know. And I was really shocked when I got notified that you all were willing enough to do that. But we are partners. Sullivan County is partners with Bristol. This reinforces what I believe in, that if we all work together and doing things together and understand we all have a ball game and we're all playing that game to be successful for our community, this just means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that I asked for something and you all, you respected me for that, and you were willing to do that. And on behalf of all the men at EMS, the men and women, if you look at the facility they operate out of, they spend 24 hours a day, just like the firemen do here in town. The facility that they have to operate in is not very nice, and they've been there for 15 years. So on behalf of me and myself, and I'm sure I can speak on behalf of the EMS service, thank you all very much, and we really appreciate it.
Anyone else want to say anything else? We just appreciate y'all, and this is really a small gesture that reflects a lot. So, and I know several of us have attended several of y'all's meetings recently and really appreciate the work that y'all do and the time that's spent doing that work. So I think we've achieved a greater appreciation of that through spending some additional time with you. So we thank all of y'all for everything as well, and know y'all are missing a meeting right now, so y'all can head back and join that meeting if need be, or stay here while we vote on our budget. So thank you again very much. Mr. Sora, I think we're ready for ordinance 19-2, if I'm picking it up in the right place. An ordinance to adopt a budget and appropriate funds for our fiscal year July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020.
Yes, ma'am. Tonight's the first night of a two-part process, which includes a public hearing. It's really the culmination of 5 months worth of work by staff and city council, and many hours putting together a budget, reviewing this budget with council, making sure that this budget aligns with your goals, establishing metrics for performance by the various departments in meeting the objectives set forth by this council earlier this year. Ordinance 19-2 is considered this evening on first reading. And it's the first part of the formal adoption of the fiscal 2020 budget and appropriation ordinance. The budget totals $121,058,532 and reflects an increase of $14,245,711 from the or $711, and this is an increase of 13.3% from the 2019 budget. Ordinance 19-2 also establishes the property tax levy at its current rate of $2.1612 per $100 of assessed value. The proposed budget also maintains the current solid waste fees, stormwater fees, and water and sanitary sewer rates. It is a balanced budget with a drawdown of $533,000 from the general fund balance to support much-needed capital projects. The municipal government portion of the budget stands at $62,012,492 and reflects an increase of $3,635,232 from the fiscal 2019 budget. As I mentioned earlier, the budget focuses on the key themes of economic development, infrastructure, and education. It continues all city programs and services as they have in the past while still making strategic capital investments to meet the future needs of our community. Major projects included in this budget includes the redevelopment of the 700 block of Shelby Street, downtown streetscape and pedestrian improvements, reconstruction of East Cedar Street, renovations of the water filtration plant, resurfacing of approximately 14 lane miles of roadway. It also embodies key partnerships that include the continued development of the Tri-City Airport's Aerospace Park, site development at Bristol Business Park, and improvements at Partnership Park 2. Proposed budget also includes a wage adjustment of 3% for city employees and an incremental adjustment for those employees identified as being below market wage for comparable or from comparable positions in other communities. The school system portion of the budget, and if we can advance to the next slide, and I know that's difficult to read in terms of the size of it, but the school system portion of the budget totals $59,046,040 and is an increase of $10,610,479. This increase is primarily, and the increase in the overall budget is primarily attributable to $14,250,000 increase in funds in the school capital facilities fund, and this is a result of the transfer of or the disbursement of proceeds from the Sullivan County School construction bonds, which will be available for the coming year for the construction of the first year of construction for the new middle school. The fiscal 2020 budget remains unchanged from that presented and discussed and tweaked by City Council during your April 23rd work session. If Ordinance 19-2 is approved on first reading this evening, a public hearing and second reading will be slated for our June 4th meeting.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Sora or city staff?
I was going to ask one. The drawdown on our fund balance, we will continue to maintain, am I correct, more than 5 months of our fund balance?
That is correct. That is correct. If you recall, our financial plan requires us to maintain at least 3 months of fund balance reserve. It recommends 4 months. We will still be above 5 months.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
And we've had a balanced budget for several years, correct?
That's correct.
And we were able to, with a balanced budget, actually add monies into our reserve. Is that correct?
Yes, we have.
And how much was that amount?
It was approximately maybe close between $500,000 and $600,000. Tara, do you have the exact number there? It's close to $600,000.
$161 last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was?
This was a very aggressive pursuit of delinquent property taxes. Probably 2/3 of that amount was a result of delinquent property tax collections, primarily from one entity.
And not something that we'll have every year.
That's correct. That is correct.
Okay, so I would just like to point out then that we're not raising property taxes, and we were able to save $600,000 from last year, so we're presenting another balanced budget without raising property taxes, and the 533,000 drawdown is actually, we'll still have a surplus even after the 600,000.
Anyone else? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 19.2 for the fiscal 2019 to June 2020 budget.
Okay, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion from City Council?
I think one of the reasons I've appreciated our budget process for a number of years is the staff does a really thorough job. You know, this started 6 months ago, really.
Yeah.
Maybe a little earlier for a couple of staff members who had to dust off some spreadsheets, but other than our clerk, who also, as finance director, deals with it every single month of the year. And we appreciate that, but maintaining the fund balance in excess of the 5 months, I think, is valuable. It gives us a little cushion, especially when our policy helps us target 4 months. And then, and also, while there is some increase in some of these, some of it's just how the school capital is rolling out for the construction and some of those things for the new middle school. So I look forward to supporting this, and appreciate the work and the discussion we had day long there at Steel Creek a few weeks ago. So thank you.
So, Mr. Soar, who are the key people that help with putting the budget together?
Well, I mean, I would have to include all department heads and their staff in the development of the independent departmental budgets. But the key players of the budget team would include Tara Music, Holly Varan, our accounts manager, Mary Lee Williams from our Department of Administration, and then Tim Beavers from Development Services and the compiling of our capital improvement plan.
I would like to also say that we've really held the line for a number of years on not raising property taxes, and we've had some lean years. We've had some to really cut back on our budget, and a lot of the people that suffered were our city employees, but we're bouncing back. We're very healthy financially. Everybody's getting a 3% wage adjustment, and plus we've also identified employees who are below market wage, and finally giving them the boost that they've deserved and that they've done without for several years. So hats off to all the city employees for all of your hard work, for suffering through the lean years with us, and we really appreciate your hard work and dedication and all that you've done to make this city so great. Thank you.
I think it's important to note that while we are doing salary or wage increases, and while we are adjusting employees that have been identified as below market, that this is not a one and done year, and that they will not be fully vetted in an appropriate pay scale. We determined that it would take how many years to put them at an appropriate pay scale. So it will take us a little bit more than 4 years to actually get everyone to the appropriate pay scale. Right, right. So we are still experiencing the process, and we are still working with a very thin budget, and we are still putting things of capital on hold. And so while we are balanced, and while we have performed at this level, we have gone without a lot of things that at some point we are going to have to address. So it is great that we are where we are, but it will be even better when we can move our employees forward, and we can meet some of the capital improvements in rolling stock that we do need.
Thank you. I would agree with that, and I think for our property tax here in Bristol, in comparison with our region, we don't have some of the resources and the values, and we also have a smaller population, yet we have to do a lot of the same things that our neighboring cities do. So finding the best spot to walk that line to be affordable for our businesses and for our residents and still be able to manage to keep up, not fall behind in competing with our employees, with our quality of life, some of the different capital things that we know that we need to do to be the kind of community that we want to be, that requires being really careful with walking that line. And so we differ a little bit on where we are in walking that line here on council. And I believe also every year we have a balanced budget. It just depends on how we balance it. But by the time we get to this point where we are voting, it is balanced. So, and it is a tremendous amount of work to go into it, and also we can give credit to the staff for the amount of creativity over the past several years, looking for different funding sources, looking for different partners, looking for the way around things to try to get to our goals. And we really appreciate what's been done to be able to get to that. Okay, if anybody else?
Well, to agree with you that we have, the city has for years put off capital projects. It's mostly been within our school system. And that's where we're really going to be looking to our school board and administration, our schools, as we move forward with the building of the middle school. What's our next step? And we're really excited about supporting our school system in any way we possibly can. And I think that's one of the hugest keys to our economic development is our school systems. I think we can all agree that there are things in a budget that you don't like. There are things that you like a lot, especially our wage adjustments. But I think really moving forward as far as capital projects, really our school facilities, I'm just looking really forward to moving forward with that.
Right. Would anybody in the audience here tonight like to address council on this issue? All right. Seeing no one, I think we're ready to vote here.
Denise?
Yes.
Fire Robin?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Also, I think at this time, Mr. Sora, if you would just tell us about the budget workshops.
Yes, I was going to cover them under my report in a few minutes.
Now.
Okay. We'll have the Bristol Exchange meetings as we historically have done or traditionally have done. The first one will be on Thursday, May 9th in the cafeteria here at Slater Community Center. And the second will be on Thursday, May 30th, which will be in the auditorium at Tennessee High School. The evening will start off at 6 p.m. with our various department heads being present and other members of their staff to give the community an opportunity to meet with them, have dialogue with them, answer any questions, and at 6:30 we'll move forward with the budget presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else have anything to say about budget? If not, the next is ordinance 19-3. And don't get confused, this is for fiscal year July 1, 2018 through June 30th, coming up 2019. First reading for this, and Mr. Soar, if you want to tell us about this amendment for the appropriation.
Yes, Ordinance 19-3 is our annual housekeeping measure to ensure that we're in compliance with the legal requirements for municipal budgets. But it amends several different funds within our total budget based on expenditures. It will tonight and this is the first reading this evening. Will amend the General Purpose School Fund. Will amend the School Nutrition Fund. Will amend Chapter 420 Fund, the Grant Fund, and the Capital Equipment Fund. The School General Purpose Fund, or most of these funds, reflect an increase in expenditures related to additional grant funding or revenues from other government agencies or even private contributions. The General Purpose School Fund is increased to reflect costs associated with the Stonecastle Fieldhouse project. textbook purchases, and then additional grant funds. The Chapter 420 fund is amended to reflect increased state sales tax generated by the Pinnacle Retail Development, and this is distributed from the state to the city and its industrial board consistent with the development agreement in place. So this is, as I know City Council is aware, this is a pass-through fund for Chapter 420 funds. In terms of the capital equipment fund, this is increased to address higher costs, higher than anticipated costs for public safety equipment. I know Council, we've discussed this on a couple of occasions, the movement from the Chrysler sedan to the Ford Explorer and the reasons behind that move, but also that unit does cost more. In addition, there was a police cruiser that was totaled in a recent accident that is included in this cost increase for this fund, as well as 2 public works vehicles that were ordered from fiscal 2018 but were not delivered until due to delays in manufacturing were not delivered until fiscal 2019, which increased we would need to reflect that increased cost in the fiscal 2019 budget. The general purpose school fund is amended to a revised appropriation of $41,187,392. School nutrition fund is increased to $1,994,000. The Chapter 420 fund is amended for $6,750,000. The grant fund is amended to $140,309, and the capital equipment fund is amended to a total of $675,000. Water time.
Are there any questions for staff? All right. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 19.3, an ordinance to amend the appropriation of funds and budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2018 through June 30, 2019.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Anybody wish to discuss any of these items? Anyone here tonight wish to speak to this? Okay, I think we're ready to vote.
Denise?
Yes.
Fire Robin?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
If I am keeping my papers straight, I think we're ready for the consent agenda.
I think we are.
Mr. Sora.
Let me get my papers there.
And consent agenda does not have any discussion on the consent agenda, but
Okay.
requires reading aloud.
Okay. The minutes of the April 2nd, 2019 City Council meeting, minutes from the April 23rd, 2019 City Council work session, Resolution 1935 authorizing the purchase of replacement patrol-rated sport utility vehicle, Resolution 1936 authorizing the Finance Director to write off uncollectible utility receivables, Resolution 1937 approving a contract with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for the maintenance of state highways, Resolution 1938 awarding a bid for upgrade of the fuel management system, Resolution 1939 amending the agreement for engineering services for water filtration plant motor control center upgrade, Resolution 1940 awarding a bid for the purchase of equipment for police vehicles, and Resolution 1941 authorizing submittal of an application to the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development for a tourism enhancement grant.
Right, would anyone on council like to remove any items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I think we're ready to vote. Tara?
We have to have a motion. You have to have a motion.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, whose motion?
A motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Now we're ready. Thanks.
Denise?
Yes.
Fire Robin?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
All right. Before Mr. Sora, no, Board of Education, he's already coming forward. So thank you, Dr. Willie.
Good evening. A few things to report. We are finished with TN Ready testing, and for the first time in a couple of years, it actually went smoothly this year, so we're very pleased about that. This is Teacher Appreciation Week, and we're very blessed to have some very high-quality teachers in our district. They work really hard, and they're definitely committed to the success of our students. So Be sure to thank a teacher if you see one this week. Lots of year-end activities going on. We have class night Thursday, May 16th. That'll be at 7 p.m. at Viking Hall. We have a very accomplished group of graduates this year, as most years, and very excited to hear about the awards and scholarships that they've received. We have the senior walk coming up on May 20th, and we've done that for several years now. That's where the seniors go back to the elementary schools where they came from and they get high fives, the elementary kids line the halls, and the graduates go through, and they go in and talk to the students. And it's a great experience for the graduates, but it's also a great experience for the students, because they get to see the graduates and kind of envision that, hey, they can get there too one day, so that's a good thing. Our Tennessee High graduation is on Friday, May 24th. We're changing it up a little bit this year. We are doing a night graduation. It's going to be at 8 p.m. in the Stone Castle if it doesn't rain, and hopefully it'll be a little cooler than it is sometimes in the morning, so we're looking forward to that. The very next day, on Saturday, May 25th, we are doing the Tennessee Online Public School, the TOPS graduation. That's at 7 p.m. in the Frank Winston Auditorium. Finally, I'd like to thank all of you on behalf of the Board of Education and myself for the allocation and increase to our budget, as well as to the contribution to the new middle school. Certainly, we appreciate the resources that you all invest in our school system, and it definitely allows us to offer better opportunities, more opportunities for our students as a result of your support. So thank you.
Thank you, always, for being here with us. Right, city managers report.
Okay, I've already gave part of it.
That's good.
As a result of the Bristol Exchange meetings, though, we will not have, as has been our tradition, a regular scheduled work session this month. On the material distributed to you earlier this evening, and I think John referenced it earlier, we do have our Small Business Festival. That's Thursday, May 9th through Saturday, May 11th. And our economic development team has worked very hard with the whole entrepreneurial scene across the Tri-Cities to make this a very valuable presentation. And you're all invited to the kickoff at Bristol Motor Speedway at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. That's it.
That's it, good. All right, council comments? Oh, let me recognize people who are here. I didn't want to skip that. So we have our county commissioners who were here, and Representative John Crawford, who got a slight recognition, but we appreciate your being here, and hope that your stress level and things happening to you are improved, or certainly ready to improve shortly with the end of session, hopefully in sight. And we have Mayor Joel Staten in the back with his wife Peg, and he serves also on Planning Commission, Better Properties Board. Also John Cartwright, who was here, who also serves on the Board of, not Better Properties, it's Board of Zoning Appeals. I got that. John Cartwright serves on Better Property Board and Board of Zoning Appeals. So appreciate y'all being here. And then we have a little election coming up, and Councilman Jack Young usually reminds us to vote, and he's got it on there, so he'll talk about that in a second, but want to recognize the candidates and appreciate your attendance with Miles Vance back there, and Malin Luttrell, Vince Turner, and Steve Willinger. So we all up here are fully aware of what it takes to campaign and balance everything else that you're doing as well. So we wish you the best, and we'll see what happens. So, and we'll all look forward to July. So, not to mention June 21st, I think. So, okay, council comments. Jack, you want to go first?
I'll go ahead and add. It's good to see Representative Crawford here, as Mayor indicated. Glad to see session is out, and thank you for what you do, doing the people's business there in Nashville, and letting the family hold the fort down back here as well. So want to say my condolences to the Gaines family, as Dr. Gaines, past mayor, has passed, and just appreciate some of the perspectives that he had shared with me in understanding someone who had served for, I believe it was 16 years in office, and some of those conversations before I had even come on council, and then some while I was serving, including a few lunches at Rotary. He will certainly be missed, and appreciate his public service and also all the many students he touched there through, in those days, King College, now King University. Early voting is here, and even better news is come May 9th, the Armory, and if you happen to be over in Kingsport and want to visit a Civic Auditorium, you can still vote in a Bristol election at Civic Auditorium from the 9th through the 16th, but why not come by the Armory and see some familiar faces? And I suspect if you see a few candidates, you're most likely to see them at the Armory. But get out there during, I believe it's 9 to 4, and I see head nods confirming that in the back. Thank you. I didn't do my homework on those hours, but get out and vote. That is the way we can influence as each individual member. Everybody gets a vote. Some of us just have more people in the House, and you know how that goes. Sometimes it cancels out a vote, or sometimes your vote goes further just because you're in agreement there. But get out and vote, and that way your voice is heard. And I know it also affects sometimes, well, it probably shouldn't. We represent all the people, but it's, you know, we don't know exactly how many will show up for this election. But I know 4 years ago when I was elected, we had less than 1,000 people come out to vote. And when you think there's 26,000 people and 13,000 registered voters, 1,000 people is not very many people. So exercise your right. We have the freedoms thanks to many who have served. Get out and vote. And if you have to stay around for Election Day and love that Election Day vibe, go to your local precinct on May 21st.
Okay, I can go next. Small Business Festival has been mentioned, and I'd just like to say thank you to John and Tom out of our Economic Development Department. Put a lot of time into that and effort, and special thank you to Startup Tri-Cities. You know, a lot of this festival, Small Business Festival, is put on by volunteers, taking their time to be speakers, helping those that may have needs in accounting or sales or something like that, where their skill sets aren't quite as strong in certain areas. So really proud of that program, and think we're doing a great job. Great news about the amphitheater to Dragway and Alabama coming soon. That's going to be awesome. I just want to put a big thank you out to all of our employees too. Blake McCracken really deserves this award, and we have so many employees who do that on a daily basis. They're just courteous to our citizens, and it's a tribute to our management for taking that customer service step from all of our department heads to our city manager, and really taking the things that we have asked for, which is a great, huge step in customer service. And I got to tell you, our city employees that are in contact with our employees on a daily basis, it has made a big difference, and a lot of our citizens notice it. So thank you to them, and that's all I have.
I'll go. You know, when we talk about education and when we talk about workforce development, we have to talk about economic development. And we have a perfect trifecta right here, and with our industrial parks being fully vetted with exceptional infrastructure, and I know we are continuing to become pad ready and moving forward with that. We have an exceptional school system that is working diligently to meet the needs of our workforce as it evolves, and so we're very excited about that. And we just are in a wonderful position for great things to happen. And we hope that as we move forward, that we can make some of these things happen, that we need as far as our workforce development. The Small Business Festival is that step. Sullivan Networks Partnership is that step. The work that we're doing in-house with our own economic development team and working in partnership with Bristol, Tennessee Essential Services, all of these are so important to our next steps. So I'm real excited about education and economic development and how they can merge together to give us the ready workforce that we need. Additionally, I'm really excited about all of the marketing and planning that's going on with Bristol. We have moved some dates around, and the BCM will sponsor the Bristol Rhythm and Roots reunion. It will be the second weekend in September of 2020. It will also be the 20th anniversary. And I don't know if you've seen the poster as it's unfolded, but it's different this year. It has a real Americana sort of vibe. I also serve on the Believe in Bristol board, and this morning it's the 20th anniversary of Border Bash. And you'll notice that the marketing that's being done through Believe in Bristol is very complementary to what is being done with the BCM. And I just kudos to our downtown marketeers. We have Courtney was here this evening with Discover Bristol, the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We have Maggie that works with Believe in Bristol, and we have Leah Ross that works with the BCM. And my understanding is that all three of them have recently met and are in collaboration with one another, and I think this is evidence of that. With this being the 20th anniversary of Border Bash, it's sponsored by Bank of Tennessee, the birthplace of country music, Blackbird Bakery, Cascade Draft House, the City of Bristol, Tennessee, the City of Bristol, Virginia, John and Brenda Fincher, Framed, Jeff and Terry Gregory, Knoxville TVA Employee Credit Union, Lost State Distilling, Merrill Lynch, Anna Morgan, Dale and Janine Sargent, Tom and Barbara Smith, the Bristol Hotel, John and Ann Tickle, Turtleson, and Dr. and Mrs. Zadie. So it's wonderful to have this kind of support, not only from our cities, but from our private sector as well. So kudos to our marketeers of downtown Bristol. Thank you.
Not to repeat too much, but again, Hiring Expo and Small Business Festival. The Hiring Expo, I think we are beginning to almost take for granted, and it takes a lot of work to put it on, and really appreciate that. But I think those two things are good examples of our multi-pronged approach to economic development, with an expo that is supporting our existing businesses and employers, and that aspect, and then the Small Business Festival that we're really trying to nurture entrepreneurism and small business in our community. So I think that says a lot about our economic development approach. I'll just put a plug in for Reading Buddies, which is the mentoring program at our elementary K through second grade. It's winding up this week, and there is brunch on Friday, but I would encourage anybody to go ahead and make contact with K Ward and the school system to volunteer for next year. It's hugely rewarding, and the data that comes from the relationship that working with kids, and it's not just the reading, or it's barely the reading, it's the relationship of mentoring adults with our young people, children in schools. So encourage people to get involved, try it, give 30 minutes of your time every week to a child in our school system. Hazardous waste, May 11th, I think that's our sister city side of town for doing that. I'll put a plug in for Friends of Steel Creek, have an annual meeting on Saturday at 2, and they have a talk about bluebird boxes that have been placed in the park, and hopefully they're going to report that some of them are inhabited by bluebirds. So the good time to get out and see the changes at the Nature Center and hear a talk, etc. please, we want to say appreciation to our teachers. I know there's several different activities and Rotary, et cetera, that recognize our teachers at this time of year. And I'll just say, personally, I always remember when it is because it's about the first week that Scotch strawberries show up. So if you have opportunity to take some strawberries to some teachers, they don't always have a chance to get out while those strawberries are there. So it's a great recognition. Coming up in June, on I think June 5th, is active shooter class that our police department has offered several times. I think it's been very popular, unfortunately, but I've understood that it's quite good.
It is very good.
And it's the same. We'll meet again before then, but people can go ahead and sign up. People are asked to sign up ahead of time, even though there is no cost to it. And then just wanted to say a couple things. There's a branding survey out that is getting lots of responses. We really hope people will participate in that. If you don't like the ideas of branding, put that in your survey, and that information will get to people as well. I will say with the regionalism that we had a meeting recently, quite a few people were there, some good attendance from Southwest Virginia folks. And we had Dr. John Smith, who gave us a presentation. He's ETSU economics.
College of Business.
College of Business, and does economics in College of Business. Anyway, he talked about some of the indicators, and it's one of the reasons why we are looking at taking a hard look at our region. It does take several years for data to catch up, so the data was, I think, mostly 2017. So we hope that everything that we're excited about and positive is going to show up, but some of the indicators comparing us with Asheville area and I forget what else was on there for different
Chattanooga, Nashville.
In Nashville. Our indicators are not as strong as we would like to see. The downturns that came with our economy, we see other areas have recovered and are going up, and ours are either not going up much at all, still flat, or not going up at the same rate. So it was interesting. It also was word that we have work to do in our region, and I think that's in all different kinds of areas that we know we can always improve. So the branding is, the naming. What we're doing right now is just naming, and there's other parts for strategic planning and working together. Personally, I'm advocating for All-America City. Our region was the first region in 1999 to win All-America City Award. Since then, they've had other regional winners, but we were the first. We focused at that point on healthcare and music and our young people. I think we would have a strong case to go back and look at particularly population health, what we're doing here to help us be better, and of course our music, which has just been phenomenal for what we've seen in the last 20 years. So I'm hoping we might participate in that again. That was opportunity for every small town, big city in our region to have input and participate. So hoping that may go somewhere. Also, we have a senior survey that is, and I don't know if this one's online yet, Tim. It's online on the city website. So also we have hard copies. Encourage our seniors to take the survey to give input for our senior citizen life here in Bristol. So Department of Community Development is doing that survey at this point. So appreciate that. And again, for our county commissioners, just want to thank y'all again. And for those who are watching this as a program, I think all y'all are here still. So we didn't even have to move things around. We appreciate you. And then last, I'll speak about Dr. John Gaines. and say that he was an important person in my life. My story is that I ran for school board in 1993. I lost, and the following, a year later, a city council member who had just been elected at the same time that I lost the school board election found out that it was a little hard to do sales in our city, and you can't please all the people all the time, so when you're on city council. So decided it was not for him, and they had a vacancy. Dr. Gaines actually called around the country when I was vacationing to see if I would be willing and interested. At that point, we had 5 districts, so they were smaller than they are now. And it had to be someone from the district. So he was very supportive and responsible for, greatly responsible for my appointment to city council in 1994. And also in 1997, when I was the first elected mayor, John Gaines strongly supported my being mayor. And I am thrilled to say I was the first woman mayor in Bristol, Tennessee, and just grateful for his support and encouragement in my role on city council, and also my opportunity to be mayor. So John Gaines has meant a lot to me over the years in his support and his mentorship. So with that, anybody else have anything else? We'll be adjourned. We thank you for your participation.
Jeff Foxworthy here. You know, if you've ever found yourself repeating the same thing for 75 years, you might be Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Well, thing is, there's a lot more to say. Like if you've ever found yourself burning yard debris and then walking away, well, you might be starting a wildfire. So for the love of the outdoors, go to SmokeyBear